seats are torn, the paint job's lacking, and the tires are worn. This old thing's still running, it just takes more gas. But you get where you're going, just won't get there too fast. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it's working, some just kick it. Throw it down straight, don't mix it. You already punched your ticket.
Well, by the title of this video, you can probably tell what's going on. This is my new 1949 Cessna 140A. Its tail number is November 90477 Alpha, or 77 Alpha for short, but because of this plane's interesting appearance, it has earned the name, and I mean this in the best way possible, Lil Ugly. No, I'm not kidding. That's what I call it. I have been keeping this airplane a secret pretty well, I might add, from all my social media, but I can finally spill all the details with you about where I found this airplane, why I bought it, show you the trip home, and also tell you what is in store for the future of this airplane. And before we get any further into this video, don't worry, the Bonanza is not going anywhere. I'm not replacing the Bonanza, I'm not selling the Bonanza, and yeah, 21 Charlie's not going anywhere, So it seems that I have a bit of an affinity for vintage old airplanes, so I thought that we could start out with a little history on the Cessna 140. My airplane is a 1949 Cessna 140A, and it is the last in a line of 3 airplanes from Cessna, the 120, the 140, and the 140A. The Cessna 120 and 140 are a 2-seat, side-by-side, tailwheel, fabric wing, but metal fuselage aircraft. They started production in 1946, and the 140 was considered a luxury version of the 120. The 120 didn't have things like flaps, an electrical system, or that rear D-shaped window that you'll see in the back of my airplane, but the 140 had all of these things. And in 1949, Cessna stopped making the 120 and started making the 140A, which became the luxury version of the 140. There's several noticeable differences between the 140 and the 140A, such as a fully metallized wing from the factory, as well as a redesigned wing and redesigned flaps. And the wing also now has a single strut instead of that dual strut that you'll see on a 120 or a 140. There were also more engine options, and the 140A had a lot of the upgrades that later 140s also had, such as forward swept gear and changes in the instrument panel. The Cessna 140A was produced from 1949 to 1951, and although 7,000 120s and 140s were produced, only just over 500 140As were produced. So why did I decide on this specific airplane? Why pick a Cessna 140A? Because you're probably thinking, Stevie, this airplane is slower than your Bonanza, it's older than your Bonanza, and it's arguably like uglier than the Bonanza, so why would I buy this? When I moved out to California, I started to get a lot more exposure to tailwheel aircraft. Tailwheel flying looked like a challenge, and especially after getting my tailwheel and flying in some more tailwheel airplanes, I realized that I would love owning a tailwheel. As we all know, I love vintage airplanes, so that left me with a couple options of vintage tailwheel aircraft to choose from. But I really love the look of the Cessna 140. Really, my mission with this airplane was to fly something simple and fun. I wanted to be able to just pull it out of the hangar, do my pre-flight, and take it for a couple laps around the pattern. And this is the perfect airplane for the job. It checks all my boxes, and it has been so much fun to fly. I love the Bonanza. I think it's an incredible traveling airplane. It's great for short hops to another airport, but it's definitely complicated. It's a complex aircraft. You have to worry about the gear, you have to worry about the propeller, you have to worry about so much more with the Bonanza, and this is such a simple airplane. I was also inspired by a number of Cessna 140 and 120 women aircraft owners and pilots, which I think is really cool because it's not so often you find an owner group with that many women, especially young women. So people like Allison Leeward and Jess Harper, I was super inspired by them flying and owning 120s and 140s, so that definitely contributed. Once I decided that I wanted a Cessna 120, 140, or 140A, I started looking for the perfect airplane. I looked on Facebook, Barnstormers, Wing Swap, Controller, Trade-A-Plane, word of mouth, airport listings, about anywhere that I possibly could to find the perfect 140 for me. And when I saw this airplane listed, I saw it on Facebook first and then also on Barnstormers. I honestly just went right past it because it's not that cute, right? Like it looks good from like 10 feet away, and you know, gray and red isn't my favorite, but when you get close up, it has a lot of interesting spots and features and just all paint and stuff that I was like, I don't want that airplane, it's not cute, right? Like I don't want that. But as my search continued, I realized that this was the only 140A, or one of the only 140As on the market at the time, and I liked that it had a mid-time engine, and if I didn't like the paint, that's something I can change in the future. So I decided to give the owners a call. The airplane was located in Bellingham, Washington, and it was listed at $33,000, which if you look at the 120, 140 market now, almost every single airplane for sale right now is listed between $40,000 to $50,000, whether it's an A model or not. In the future, I'll be making a full video on how to buy an airplane using this as an example, and I'll also be making a separate video on all of the costs of my first year of ownership, including the purchase cost of the airplane. So keep an eye out for that. It will be literally down to the cent. So I won't go too much over costs or how to buy an airplane in this video, but it will be covered in detail in the future. Once I got in contact with the owners and confirmed that the aircraft was for sale, I started getting all of my ducks in a row. First, I drafted a purchase agreement. I used the one that I had from the Bonanza, but I also used the AOPA purchase agreement template online. That's a really great resource if you are buying an airplane and don't understand all the legal jargon that goes into it. Then I started to get financing in order. I reached out to AOPA Finance, and they quickly set me up with a lender that was able to help me through the entire process, through all of the documentation I needed to submit, getting all of the inspections done, the paperwork completed, and we got the financing squared away pretty quickly. I then set up my escrow account and started a title search on the airplane through Aerospace Reports. After that, I got insurance quotes and started looking for a shop to do a pre-buy. So I was able to line up a pre-buy inspection at a pretty reputable facility up in the Bellingham area, and the report that I got back was that, as weird as it looks, it's in really good shape. After the pre-buy was completed, I sent over the down payment to escrow, all the financing had completed, and the airplane was officially mine. And also, a side note, I was at EAA AirVenture 2022 while all of this was happening. So in between meet and greets and running over to see friends and other airplanes, I was on the phone with escrow agents and financing people trying to figure this out, but at the end of Oshkosh, this airplane was officially under my name. The previous owners did me a huge favor, and they flew the airplane over to Friday Harbor, Washington, where another shop would be completing the annual. When we went to pick up the airplane, I had a little bit of tailwheel time, but I had no 120 or 140 time at all. The tailwheel experience that I did have was in a Citabria, which I got my tailwheel endorsement in, and also in a Cub, but no training in either of those airplanes could have prepared me for how different the 140 is to fly. And of course, I am not somebody who's just going to hop into an airplane that I've never flown before, especially with so little tailwheel time. So I brought my boyfriend with me, who has a lot of 120, 140 time and is also a CFI, to fly the airplane home with me. Finally, almost 4 weeks after the airplane became mine, I was able to go to Friday Harbor, Washington, see the airplane for the first time, and fly it home. Today, we are not flying the Bonanza. Right now, we're at Renton Field in Seattle, Washington, and we're gonna take my friend Nick Mooney over to Friday Harbor to pick up my new Cessna 140A 9477 Alpha. Let's go! Cessna 9477 Alpha departing runway 16 will be a right turnout circling above the airport, Friday Harbor.
some of our worst mistakes. It seems weird, it sounds funny to feel broke when you're not out of money. It's a strange feeling when we're driving blind, when our hearts are heavy but we're satisfied. We're not chasing heaven, we're just chasing time. It's a strange feeling, alright.
So we are currently at Redding in Northern California. Our plan was to go all the way to Camarillo tonight, and now it looks like we're just gonna make it to Livermore. So for now, that's the plan.
It's unmistakable, our hearts are breakable. It's no surprise the joy is unfakeable. A cold reality, it's not a mystery. It's so hard to move on from our history. It's a train wreck, it's a trap, to feel lost when you're still on the map. It's a race in heaven, we're just chasing time. It's a strange
Hi, little ugly.
feeling.
Can't forget the snacks. Oh, she's still there. So that's good. I think it's funny that we load all our new lunch bags.
I wanna know which wavelengths you're hanging on. I wanna know which light you keep keeping on. I wanna know whose side you're on. I wanna know you completely and turn on your TV and put your records on, yeah. Whose side you're on. I wanna know, baby, whose side you're on. 'Cause I wanna know.
Flying the 140 back from Friday Harbor was fun, but it was also definitely a challenge. It is unlike any airplane that I've ever flown before, and it was so different from the Citabria that I did my tailwheel endorsement in, and it really required me to think a little bit differently about how I was flying the airplane. I'm definitely still learning to fly this airplane, and I think I will continue to learn to fly it for quite some time, but I do think I have a better handle on it for sure than what I did when I picked it up. While I still am a very low-hour tailwheel pilot, I have a high level of respect for the airplane. I taxi extremely slow, I have a very low crosswind personal limitation, and part of the reason I love this airplane is because it is that bit of extra challenge that makes those laps around the pattern just that much more fun. So now we've talked about why I bought this airplane, we've talked about what makes the 140A so special, but what am I going to do with this airplane? I already have an airplane that flies and can take me places, so what's the plan? The 140 will be undergoing an even more extensive resto mod than what was done with the Bonanza. In just a few weeks, I'll be flying the 140 down to our favorite, Neal Aviation, where it will get a fresh set of not acrylics, but Garmin avionics. After the avionics upgrade, we'll take off from Neal Aviation and land at Artcraft Paint in Santa Maria, California. The 140 will be getting a brand new paint job designed by Flight Lines, and will also be getting a new interior. I am so excited to see what this airplane looks like in just a few months, and after all of the upgrades are done, I will of course be bringing the 140 all the way from California to Oshkosh. And of course, the Bonanza will be there too. Before I go, I wanted to thank all of you for continuing to support me and watching my videos, even if they are far and few between, and I promise I'm working on that. But in all seriousness, I would not have been able to buy this airplane if it weren't for all of you watching my videos and continuing to support me on Instagram, TikTok, and of course on YouTube. So thank you so much. I cannot even begin to explain how grateful I am for all of you watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you are as excited as I am to see more adventures in the 140 and to see what this airplane looks like in a couple months. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next flight. Bye!